Picture this. Civilization has collapsed. An apocalypse has struck mankind. And from the ashes of our world, a new authority emerges to restore order and provide some semblance of the world before. Now, just off the top of your head, would you expect this new authority structure to be honorable or morally dubious? My guess is, most of you would say the latter. Because most of us understand that that's what happens when there's only one power player left in the world. Power corrupts, and in a post-apocalyptic world where there's no international community left to condemn their actions, and the alternative is anarchy and chaos, the lesser evil can only get more evil with time. But what if you had a say in what direction this new authority structure goes? Would you choose honor and morality over safety and guaranteed survival? Especially in a world that is just barely getting away from looking down the barrel of ecological extinction, and, what's more, seems to be about to look down the barrel of yet another apocalypse? It was only after replaying the GDI campaign of the 2007 real-time strategy video game Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars that I realized this very well may be the question the game was asking. And unlike most other forms of entertainment media, video games are interactive, so the player gets to answer this question for him or herself. The culmination of this moral quandary hit me like a freight train when I was a teenager, and I'm happy to say it hit me the same way when I replayed it now. Allow me to explain. If you've watched my previous video on Tiberian Sun, you know the history of Tiberium, an alien crystalline plant of sorts that arrived in a meteor on Earth in 1995. It leached valuable minerals and ores from the soil, depositing it into green or blue crystals that could be processed with a minimum of mining expense. Tiberium became the world's most valuable resource overnight. Unfortunately for the planet, however, the process of pulling those valuable minerals and ores from the ground released dangerous gases and extraterrestrial radiation that slowly began to mutate or kill Earth's flora and fauna, including humans. 2 bloody wars later, and humanity almost went entirely extinct. But after the Second Tiberium War and the Firestorm Crisis, a religious terrorist superstate called the Brotherhood of Nod was defeated by the remnants of a UN military force called the Global Defense Initiative, or GDI. Furthermore, a mad biological AI named Cabal, hell-bent on converting the entirety of mankind into cyborgs, was also defeated. And most importantly, an alien database of unknown origins called the Tacitus was partially decoded, allowing GDI to learn that Tiberium could be broken down and destroyed if attacked with focused sonic weaponry at a specific harmonic frequency. Now, it wasn't the silver bullet to ending the Tiberian scourge once and for all, but it allowed humanity to begin the process of taking back their planet, even if just a little. This is the world where Command & Conquer 3 begins. 30% of the world is now classified as red zones, uninhabitable by human beings, drained of nearly all vegetation or any other forms of life, and with a landscape dominated by massive Tiberium glaciers, for lack of a better term. 50% of the world are designated yellow zones. These areas are still dangerously contaminated by Tiberium, but are nevertheless where the majority of Earth's population still lives. All governments and social structure have long since collapsed here, fomenting constant war and anarchy in these areas. Due to all the chaos, this is where the Brotherhood of Nod primarily operates, finding many willing recruits amongst a populace that feels abandoned by GDI. The remaining 20% of the world are the Blue Zones, and are under the direct rule and protection of the Global Defense Initiative. These Blue Zones are nearly or completely free of Tiberium infestation, sporting high-tech cities, financially secure citizens, and a lack of war. The creation of the Blue Zones can be largely attributed to the new sonic technology unlocked by the Tacitus. Some areas, like in Germany, used to be yellow zones, and were successfully reclaimed from Tiberium and deemed new blue zones. This is the greatest accomplishment by GDI in this era. Hope, once the possible mirage of a dying planet, is now a flickering but definite light at the end of a very long tunnel. GDI is no longer just attempting to take the planet back. They're starting to succeed. But as I alluded to previously, all is not well in paradise. GDI has changed. Now, some cynics may argue that GDI never changed and was always this way, but it has certainly become more apparent in the roughly 15 years of relative peace that followed the Second Tiberium War. With the rebuilding of civilization comes bureaucracy, and eventually, corruption. Or perhaps having a one-world government, no matter how necessary in the face of extinction or how noble its intentions, was always going to slip into this direction. From a socio-political standpoint, GDI is largely seen to be the representative of the Blue Zones. Now, GDI sees this as them protecting the last hope of a Tiberium-free humanity that must be preserved at all costs for future reclamation efforts. Much of the Yellow Zone's population, however, sees it as GDI being the puppet of the rich and privileged, perfectly willing to see Yellow Zone humans die in squalid conditions that it sees no reason to rectify. For these people, the Brotherhood of Nod offers an alternative. Throw off the shackles of a seeming fascist one-world dictatorship and follow the vision of Cain, who promises an evolution of the species to thrive with the spread of Tiberium, as well as a new prophecy regarding the mysterious ascension for all the faithful of Nod. From a military standpoint, GDI has faltered significantly. They have abandoned most of their bases and much of the technology that made them stand out during the Tiberian Sun era. From GDI's perspective, it was a necessary move to cut military spending in favor of ecology, putting the majority of their research and funding into reclamation efforts and curbing the spread of Tiberium. But, from many GDI veterans' perspectives, it's simply gross negligence, an abrogation of GDI's most sacred duty since its founding in the 20th century, protecting humanity from terrorists like the Brotherhood of Nod. Gone are nearly all the mechanized walkers like the Titans and Wolverines. Gone are the sonic disruptor tanks from the main branches of the GDI military. Gone are the free-flying jump jet troopers, the Firestorm defense matrix, the hover tech, and even the amphibious APCs. I mean, like, really, was making the APCs amphibious that much of a drain on the budget in the grand scheme of things? Anyway, gone are the limpet drones and the hunter-seeker droids that would randomly attack a target that you couldn't control in any way, shape, or form. Actually, you know what? That could probably go. I'm fine with that one. And the emotional gut punch for me personally, gone is the Mammoth Mark II Walker. The GDI military of today now has rocket all-terrain vehicles, standard track tanks, smart grenade grenadiers, and orcas that still can't shoot air-to-air missiles. Why did it take until the game that shall not be named for orcas to finally be able to do that? I mean, they're literally called orca fighters in Tiberian Sun, and they can't shoot air-to-air. What is up with that? Sorry, just got a little heated under the collar there. I'm very passionate about that. Now, don't get me wrong. Personally, I do love some of GDI's units from this era. The new Mammoth Mark III with railguns is just peak tank fan service. The Firehawks are pretty cool too, and the Zone Troopers are the greatest thing Tib Wars ever produced. I will die on this hill. But the bottom line is, GDI in this era believes Nod is no longer a threat. They believe Cain is dead. Or do they? Ava gives me data on him in the intro as though it's a well-known fact that he's alive and leading the Brotherhood in this era, and no one seems surprised when he shows up again in this game. But then Nick Parker is set in the intelligence database to be seen as a conspiracy theorist for thinking Cain is still alive? Can someone in the comments explain this to me? Anyway, the point is GDI thinks that they've already won the final victory. They're not fighting Nod. They're not protecting humans in the Yellow Zones. They're not restoring order anywhere but the Blue Zones. They're not so much a military anti-terrorist task force now, so much as they are an ecological reclamation superstate. Fighting Tiberium is the order of the day. Creating new Blue Zones is their top priority. And it's this deterioration of their socio-political structure, goals, and military that led to probably the greatest blunder in GDI history since the Hunter-Seeker droid. Putting all of their satellite defense systems, not in space, but on the ground in a vulnerable space command base. The satellite defense systems that are specifically responsible for guarding the GDI space station Philadelphia from attack. The space station where much of GDI's command and control structure operates from. According to the intelligence database, GDI could have put their space defense systems in an orbiting station too, but that was deemed too expensive. I mean, seriously, can you imagine General James Solomon leaving such a massive weak point in GDI's defense grid just to save a few pennies? The rest, unfortunately, was simply too easy for the Brotherhood of Nod. They initiated an attack on the ASAT defense grid, destroying it completely. They then followed it up by launching a nuclear missile from a hidden site in Egypt to obliterate the Philadelphia, killing most of GDI's political and military leadership in the process. In one fell swoop, Nod had thrown GDI into chaos, and they followed that masterstroke up with launching a massive attack on the North American eastern seaboard. And thus, the Third Tiberium War had begun. GDI responded quickly, sending a promising young commander to take back key bases in what used to be Virginia and clear all Nod presence in the area. The ranking commanding officer, General Granger, no relation, soon tasked this commander to assail Nod targets in Egypt in search of further nuclear missiles that may still be ready to launch. All while this is happening, a new director of the Global Defense Initiative is chosen to take leadership after the destruction of the Philadelphia. One Redmond Boyle, former head of the GDI Treasury. This is a man out of his depth. Unfortunately for General Granger and the commander, Boyle doesn't seem to know this. He's fixated on pleasing the media, delivering a quick end to the war, and brooking no discussion of caution or hesitation. This is not the world of Tiberian Sun, where you got orders from General James Solomon, and then promptly went against them as Commander Michael McNeil. You have a bureaucracy to answer to, a media to placate, and a blue zone public to look strong in front of. GDI has managed to rebuild a piece of our old civilization since the Second Tiberian War. Unfortunately, that includes many of our old foibles. Kane has been discovered amassing his forces in his old stomping grounds from the First Tiberian War, Eastern Europe. A new Temple of Nod has even been found in Sarajevo. History looks to be repeating itself. Director Redmond Boyle is ready for the encore. He orders the commander to move his forces directly into Eastern Europe and establish a foothold, against the warnings of General Granger. This is not a tactical decision. This is a political one. Boyle wants a quick end to the war, and he will not be denied. Cue one of the hardest missions in the campaign, as you are given a severely undersupplied and underpowered GDI base and asked to defend it from Nod attacks on all sides until reinforcements can arrive. Time to reroute power from one side of the base to the other, one base defense to another, and hope your harvesters aren't destroyed, cutting off your only source of income. But things go from bad to worse as even your reinforcements get pinned down and you have to rescue the rescuers. It's an unforced error of a mission, difficult by design, and illustrating how beholden GDI really is to concerns outside military practicality. After a few more missions in the region, we were finally tasked with taking down Kane's Temple Prime in Sarajevo to end the threat of Nod once and for all. It's a tough mission, but the commander manages to take down the ion cannon disruption generators and destroy all the Nod defenses. All that remains is Temple Prime itself, where Kane is presumably hiding. General Granger congratulates you, plans to send in elite infantry squads to smoke Kane out, room by room. But Director Boyle is having none of it. A long, drawn-out siege of Temple Prime may be the tactically smart decision, but it's not a flashy one. Director Boyle wants a quick and decisive end to the war, and one that will look like the vengeance that the media and the Blue Zone public have been craving. He orders an ion cannon strike on Temple Prime, despite General Granger's warnings that a liquid Tiberium bomb may be in Temple Prime, and whose potential detonation could prove catastrophic. Unfortunately for you, this dangerous ion cannon strike is not done in a cutscene. You, the player, have to do what you know to be the wrong move. You have to fire the ion cannon yourself. It was just as General Granger feared. A liquid Tiberium bomb was indeed hiding inside Temple Prime. The ion cannon sets it off, causing a massive explosion that sends Tiberium radiation all across Eastern Europe and even into space. Much of the region instantly becomes a red zone, a piece of precious Earth lost to humanity for potentially forever. The death toll is in the millions. It's a tragedy of the highest order, and unfortunately, you the player had to be the one to pull the trigger, following orders. Director Boyle, for his part, tells the media that there is a silver lining. Kane is dead, and Nod is no longer a threat. But remember that radiation from the liquid Tiberium bomb that extended even into space? Well, someone out in the depths of outer space detected this radiation. For this new species among the stars, this radiation is a signal that can only mean one thing. It's time to harvest. The Skrin. Once a species only speculated to exist based on bits of what is assumed to be their technology found in previous decades, is now confirmed to be real. They arrive in countless drone ships, unfazed by GDI's attempts to fend them off with the ion cannon network. They land deep in Earth's red zones, and send attacks directly at humanity's high population centers, which of course are GDI's blue zones. The hardest hit blue zone is New Eden, a portion of northern Europe containing much of Germany and Switzerland. The alien attacks destroy the primary sonic defenses and tear down the Tiberium abating walls. They also attack with Tiberium-based weaponry and kill millions. In addition to the staggering death toll, New Eden is set back from a blue zone to a yellow zone almost overnight. All of that precious reclamation work over the last 15 years is undone, and the symbol of hope for humanity that we might one day see a future without Tiberium is crushed under the Skrin's boot heel without sympathy. The Skrin invasion made a serious impression on me as a teenager. Alien spacecraft fly overhead, and once pristine blue zone cities are now hollow wrecks torn apart by the invaders. GDI soldiers can be heard expressing disbelief at the arrival of aliens, panicking at how seemingly invincible they are. As a kid, I defended the Skrin ship and Tiberian Sun in the hopes it held answers to the Tiberium Scourge. Now, I watched in awe as this theoretical species became all too real and crushed humanity's greatest symbol of reclamation. I have my own personal complaints about this game's world building and the direction it took compared to Tiberian Sun, but this is certainly not one of them. I have nothing but praise for how the Skrin invasion was handled in this game. After a few key operations in the area, the GDI commander manages to push the aliens out of northern Europe. New Eden is lost as a blue zone, but you have proven that the Skrin are not invincible. Seemingly made from the same core elements as Tiberium itself, sonic weaponry proves to be their Achilles heel. With this knowledge in mind, it's time to take the fight to them in the red zones, and end this threat to humanity once and for all. The Skrin are not like Nod. They don't just represent a military threat to GDI, they represent an existential threat to all of humanity. Even without the threat of extermination, every day the Skrin remain on Earth, they undo all of GDI's reclamation efforts and send us hurtling closer to the days of Tiberian Sun, when Tiberium threatened to make life on Earth impossible for humans. After destroying one of the aliens' mysterious threshold towers, GDI makes an astonishing discovery. A central control node is found in alien territory in Italy. GDI scientists discover that this control node seems to be supplying the aliens all over Earth with Tiberium radiation, in a manner that seems to indicate that if this supply was ever cut off, it might just kill every alien on Earth. A sort of cutting off of the alien's oxygen supply, so to speak. And in a twist of irony, this vital alien control node is situated in the Tiber River, the exact location where Tiberium first landed on Earth all the way back in 1995. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any Command & Conquer game has taken us back to the Tiber River prior to this one. And I can't think of a more appropriate battleground to take down the alien species that may have been responsible for sending the original Tiberium meteor in the first place. You, as the commander, are sent in to deal the final blow, knowing that this will be no walk in the park. But before you can take battlefield control, Director Redmond Boyle is able to send you a message from his bunker in Iceland. In an unexpected twist, Director Boyle reveals that he was able to procure research from the ruins of Temple Prime on Kane's liquid Tiberium bomb. For the last several missions, Boyle has had GDI scientists secretly developing a liquid Tiberium bomb of their own. It will be ready soon, and Boyle urges you, when the time comes, to use it to defeat the Skrin once and for all, taking no chances that the operation fails and thus leaves the planet open to ultimate extraterrestrial conquest. For now, that's all you're left with. If the first Eastern European mission was difficult, then this final mission in Italy is a challenge for the ages. The good news is you get a good amount of green and blue Tiberium as befitting a red zone, but you also get limited real estate for your base. Your base is right next to a Skrin outpost almost immediately on your left flank, and a much larger Skrin base in the northwest guarding the control node. And to make things even harder, the Brotherhood of Nod has decided to impede your progress here as well, for some unknown reason. Both factions attack you relentlessly, and soon both have superweapons counting down to your demise. Buckle up, Commander, and prepare to save scum, perhaps even restart the game several times as you readjust your strategy, build order, and army composition to deal with the combined onslaughts of the Skrin and Nod. The entire mission can turn into a grind that seems to have no end in sight. But General Granger has discovered Director Boyle's intentions, and he contacts you as well. He urges you not to use the liquid Tiberium bomb, stating that the fallout from the resulting chain reaction would impact the entire region for the worse, setting GDI's reclamation efforts back even further than the Skrin invasion already has. Furthermore, General Granger appeals to your sense of honor as a GDI soldier. He is concerned that if you use the liquid Tiberium bomb, it will set a dangerous precedent of using Tiberium-based weaponry, something previously only done by the Brotherhood of Nod. GDI's primary directive, Granger argues, is to eliminate Tiberium from the planet, and nothing is worth abandoning that duty. And it's right about then that Director Boyle contacts you once more. The liquid Tiberium bomb is ready, and he urges you to use it. Forget about all those people in the nearby yellow zones, Boyle says. GDI owes it to the people of the blue zones, nay, the entire planet, to end the Skrin threat once and for all. That is GDI's primary directive, to protect humanity. Doing things the quote-unquote right way is a luxury for a humanity that isn't staring down the barrel of extinction, he argues. Let me just say, I love this setup. Many games give you moral choices to make, but this game joins the few that also make your moral choice affected by the gameplay. The game only gets harder from here. Every unfair attack by scores of alien annihilator tripods at just the wrong moment. Every stupid Tiberium catalyst missile sent by Nod to wreck your refineries and your surrounding power plants, and every silos needed spoken by Ava when you're rapidly running out of space, makes giving in and just using the liquid Tiberium bomb that much easier of a choice. And after all, would it really be that monumental of a choice? Isn't General Granger being a hypocrite? GDI already depends so heavily on Tiberium for the mammoth tanks and Firehawk aircraft we've been fighting this entire war with. Maybe not directly using Tiberium-based weaponry, but we're certainly using our own weaponry because we have the wealth afforded to us by Tiberium. Is using Tiberium-based weaponry really crossing any moral line we haven't already essentially crossed? And Italy is already a red zone, beyond saving. Detonating a liquid Tiberium bomb here in exchange for the assured defeat of the alien invaders and the salvation of the planet from total conquest seems a more than fair bargain. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, who are you, the player, to get on your high horse now? After all, it was you who fired the ion cannon on the first liquid Tiberium bomb in Sarajevo. Granted, Director Boyle may have ordered it, but the game made sure to make it your action. Sure, you were just following orders, but do we really want to fall back on the Nuremberg defense of all things? But then again, as this entire campaign seems to be telling you, this isn't the GDI of the Tiberian Sun era. You're not Commander Michael McNeil. You're not in command of towering Walker Titans and Wolverines. You're not fighting for all of humanity anymore. If you want to be entirely cynical, it wouldn't be inaccurate to say you're fighting for the privileged Blue Zone residents, corporate overlords, and politicians who hold the purse strings. You're fighting for the approval of the media that seems to have more sway over your military decisions than battlefield conditions ever did. You're fighting against Yellow Zone humans that used to be the very kind of people you saved in the Tiberian Sun era. Now just an obstacle to creating another new Eden as an ecological laurel on your lapel. You turned Eastern Europe into a red zone. GDI isn't what it once was, and you're a fool if you think you can pretend it still is. So why not just embrace what GDI has become? You're already a cog in the machine, bowing down to the powers that be. Why not continue? You can't make a difference in a system you've already been totally complicit in. Or maybe, all those intelligence database entries that seem to look so fondly on the Tiberian Sun era, the Walkers, the old victories, maybe they're trying to tell you something. Maybe GDI got this way because of several GDI commanders before you who also said, "I'm just a cog in the machine. I can't make a difference." Maybe you can't change GDI back to the way it was. But maybe you don't have to just follow orders either. Maybe you can be the first pebble to change the course of this river. Maybe you can stand up to the corruption and political maneuvering that has turned GDI into something almost unrecognizable. Maybe you can say, enough. But be warned. If you choose to win the honorable way and retain the legacy of a bygone GDI, the easy choice to use the liquid Tiberium bomb will not go away. It will always be there, constantly tempting you with a quick way out. Like a temptation to relapse into addiction, Director Boyle's weapon will forever reside on the sidebar of your screen. Doing the wrong thing is a one-time decision, with far-reaching implications. Doing the right thing? That's a choice that has to be made constantly, over and over again, until it becomes a habit. Until you've rewritten your worst impulses and forged ahead with conviction. And as the mission goes on, your headspace begins to change. You stop asking, how can I survive this? You start asking, how can I win this? Before long, your Firehawks destroy superweapons. A strike team of pit bulls and predators armed with railguns take the Nod outpost and capture their nuclear missile. Juggernauts are used to destroy the Nod base once and for all. Skrin bases are wiped off the map strategically, one by one. And as you begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel, you stop seeing the liquid Tiberium bomb at the side of the screen. What once seemed like an insurmountable task is now starting to feel like the old days. You're commanding and conquering like it's second nature. Of course you're going to wipe out the enemy without taking the easy way out. And as you destroy the last of the alien control node, you wonder why you ever thought that you couldn't. Mission accomplished. You are victorious. The aliens Skrin across the entire planet immediately and simultaneously die as their supply of direct Tiberium radiation is cut off. Nod, having helped the Skrin defend their last threshold tower in the Mediterranean, also retreat back into the shadows, seemingly defeated. General Granger informs you that Redmond Boyle has resigned as director of GDI, hoping to avoid being arrested for war crimes after his proposal to use a liquid Tiberium bomb comes to light. GDI still has a very sick planet to tend to, and the problems of pandering to a blue zone public and an all-pervasive media still remain. But it seems that an important first step has been taken in redeeming the original purpose and vision of GDI all the way back in the 20th century. Protect all of humanity, end the scourge of Tiberium, and fight the terrorism of the Brotherhood of Nod.
Wait! I got a better idea. How about we don't? Hey!
Potato head.
At least, that's if you choose to ignore Redmond Boyle. After all, the game gives you the option to just use the liquid Tiberium bomb midway through the final mission. And if you do, it's a sight to behold. Nearly the entire map is destroyed, taking Nod, the Skrin, and your own forces out in the blast. As far as I can remember, no superweapon in the entire series of Command & Conquer has ever been shown to be this powerful. The Skrin threat is ended, just as in the other timeline. But now the entire Mediterranean is turned into a red zone. Millions upon millions are instantly killed. Tiberium fallout engulfs all of Europe. General Granger resigns in disgust, unable to serve in the same army as you. You then take his place as Supreme Commander of GDI. But at what cost? And the brilliant thing? You're never told, as the player, which ending is canon. Kane's Wrath, the expansion pack to this game, and the next canonical events of the Tiberium universe give no indication which path the player took. Even the game that shall not be named takes place so far into the future that no canon ending for this game is ever confirmed. And I think the developers of this game were trying to say something with that. The canon ending isn't in their hands. It's in yours, the player. You decide how it ends. You decide what kind of GDI ended the Third Tiberium War. I was a teenager when I first finished the GDI campaign of CNC3. When I had seen both endings, I immediately went to my mom and sisters and talked about the moral choice put to me at the end. I couldn't help talking about it with anyone who would listen. My mom didn't really get Command & Conquer, but we still talked about it for about a half hour about what each of us might do in that situation, how it compared to other historical choices of similar weight, like whether to use the nuclear bombs against Japan at the end of World War II. And look, maybe the moral choice isn't the hardest to work out compared to other choices in other video games, but it still affected me greatly at the time. And coming back to it as an adult, it still does. Look, it's no secret that I'm a Tiberian Sun fanboy, but I'm not going to pretend that Tiberium Wars didn't affect me just as much, just in a different way. I don't know a lot about the behind the scenes for this game, but to me, it still feels like this game was made with a lot of passion and a lot of love for this universe. Limited as they may have been by the Sage engine, every article of the intelligence database, the terror and hopelessness communicated by the Skrin invasion, and the excellent moral quandary at the end of the GDI campaign, all of it contributed to making this game feel so special to me. Like every true CNC game, this felt like more than just a game. This was a transportation into another world where I was the commander. So here's to Tiberium Wars. Not my favorite CNC, but a great CNC nonetheless. One that occupies a special place in my heart, even if it's for very different reasons than why Tib Sun also does. I mean, it's not like I can control Titans and Wolverines in CNC3. Oh my gosh, Kane's Wrath fixes all of my issues with this game.
Rending of the flesh, and they're just...
Want some more?
The walls! They're destroying the walls!
Let's get over there. Shut this party down.
So where's the action? Come on, guys.
We got this.